right, good day to you. My name is Fred Oakman, and as always with me today is Mr. Jake Peters, the one and only. We are PS, This Is Awesome, a PlayStation podcast. This is episode 191. This is a show where we share our feelings about the current state of PlayStation. But before we get on with the show, I got to invite you all to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, youtube.com/PS This Is Awesome. And if you want, go and visit us on Twitter at PS This Is Awesome and Tumblr, psthisisawesome.tumblr.com. If you want to make fun of our trophy list on the PSN, you can find me at anchorless_81 and Mr. Jake Peters at jakesaw01. And don't forget, as always, you can write the show at psthisisawesome@gmail.com. And don't forget to share the show with all your friends. That's how we build our community. So be sure to leave comments and rate the podcast on your preferred streaming platform as you see fit. And as a reminder, we do this as a video podcast as well, which you can tune in and watch whenever you prefer, maybe when you're making cookies or whatever you're doing this Halloween. And then for new and or long-time listeners, we now have a Patreon. You can support the show at the $1 level, called the One and Only $1 Club. Head over to patreon.com/PS This Is Awesome. Become a $1 patron and get your free die-cut stickers, which I have still sitting here on my desk, trying to get rid of some of these. So, Jake, you still need to get one. But yeah, make sure you do that. And for $1 a month, that's less than, I don't know what that is. Less than what? It's less than everything. Everything costs more than $1 these days. Except for maybe, there is a machine here in town that takes 50 cents for a Pepsi or a Coke or a root beer or a Mountain Dew. And it's real close to where I work. And I've literally left the house because all I wanted was a can of soda and I didn't want to buy a 2-liter for the house, where I've driven to that machine and put 50 cents in and got a Coke. Dude, what a good feeling that is. So for the cost of 2 Cokes from that machine, you can be a patron of the show every month and help support our podcast. Jake, how are you doing today?
Good. I'm tired. I've been working pretty much 12-hour days consistently for the past couple of weeks, so I'm a little worn out. But other than that, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Good. Yeah, man, I'm good. Want to buy land, just practice. We have our first show and only show all year is October 30th. And actually, we have another one booked after that in December, but it's our only show so far this year. So we've been working so hard on our new record that we forgot how to play our last 2 albums, any of the songs on them. Like, we didn't forget, but they're really rusty, so we've been trying to crunch. And then I'm going on a vacation here. Thursday night, I'm actually leaving. I'm going to go catch Lucero Friday in North Carolina, and I'm going to see John Moreland on Sunday in North Carolina, and then I'm going to hang out for a week and drive back and then get dumped on at work for the next 6 weeks. So I'm doing well, though. Yeah, so this room that I'm sitting in is our music studio, and it smells like a bunch of dude sweat, and I'm not very excited about that. But I did light a candle. I have a spiced apple, great value candle right here, lit, and it's fumigating the room in a positive way. So it's spreading its good odors, you know. I will say this, though, before we get on with the show. If any listeners at all are invested or know how or are into 3D printing, reach out to me. I just bought a 3D printer, actually. I got a resin printer, and those things are super high quality, but they're also a little toxic, so you got to know how to deal with them. But did a lot of research, and they were running a deal over on Amazon for the Elegoo Mars Pro 2, and I've been using like a slicer and program and stuff on my spare time and learning how to build supports and do all this stuff to make little miniatures and fun little things. And I just thought, like, man, I've always had my eye on 3D printers, and I always thought it'd be kind of cool to have one. And I know it's not as simple as the cleanup process is a bitch. The cost of getting started is a bitch. I mean, if you want a decent machine, and then if you want one that has like really high fidelity, that's gonna print like good quality like miniatures for like board gaming and stuff, it's only gonna be able to print like 6x5 by 5 maybe, like a cube that big total. And it gets a little confusing, and not confusing, but like, there are practical things that I would like to print, but I can't on this one. So we'll see if I like it. And my goal is to just print off a ton of miniatures and paint them this winter. So that's my plan, because I really enjoyed doing that this past year, and I'm getting into it. And I thought it would be kind of a cool little hobby to pick up and learn how to do. So, Jake, do you have any experience with 3D printing?
Are you actually designing models yourself, or are you just stealing other people's stuff?
No, not stealing. So what's really cool is they have these Patreon. We talked about Patreon earlier in the show. They have Patreons for companies that are like, for $10 this month you can get 75 miniatures, and you can just jump in and jump out and then get all the STL files and slice them and make them yourself and print them. For $10 to get that many miniatures is like unheard of. And granted, you have the upfront cost of buying the machine and all the supplies to do it, and then the risk of having print failures when you print these things, if you don't support them right and stuff. You could, and it takes the build time, the print time on these things has been reduced considerably. It used to take like a whole day to print something, and now like you can print like a really high quality miniature, and then depending on how you set up your bed, you can have more than one miniature on a plate. But if you just, for one print, you can pretty much do miniatures in about 2.5-3 hours, which is pretty awesome, which is actually really cool. So yeah, and I got this water-soluble resin. So yeah, I'm going to dive into this and see how it works. I started, my mind started going crazy. So not to get too crazy about it, but I found this program that was bought out by Epic Games, this company, and this is game-related, called Create Reality. And they're using photogrammetry. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's when you take multiple photos of an object, and you can scan it, like the program turns it into a 3D file that you can like look at three-dimensionally. It's think of like maybe what Google Street View does, you know what I mean? But on a way more sophisticated level. So I was watching this video where this guy essentially, what the hell did he do? He did something with a video game character, and it was interesting, and he was able to take like I think what you could probably, now it gets a little confusing because with video games it's a little different because you're not using some games might actually have focal but you can take a screenshot, it doesn't save like the focal distance and on all that stuff, like and these programs use that stuff sometimes to recreate these 3D images. But what's interesting is, so I had this great idea, because some of these programs, now AnyCreate only runs on Windows, and I only have a Mac, but what you can do is you can take a video file, throw it into AnyCreate, and as long as you're taking the video and you're going around your subject, it takes a while, but it will compile a 3D render of what you videoed. It just uses algorithms and does it, right? Now, it might need a little cleanup or whatever. AnyCreate's not free. It's kind of expensive. But how fucking dope would it be if, like, you're playing, like, Uncharted, or you're playing, and you could, like rip, like, do, like, photo mode, like, of Nathan Drake, like, shooting a fucking gun looking badass, right? And then snap into photo mode, do a video of you in photo mode with the camera going all over them, export it, send it into AnyCreate, have it create an object file, it's a 3D object file, and send it to a slicer, and have that export as STL that you could print on your 3D printer. It'd be fucking awesome if you could recreate your video game characters and shit, like your custom characters. Like I could have like my Fred Oakman guy from MLB The Show. It'd be so awesome. But I'm not there, and I'm probably never going to get there because it's way over my head. But I think it's a possibility, and maybe down the future they'll do something that's a little more easier. And because what I did was I looked up, because I remember there was a rumor that you could sculpt stuff in VR in Dreams, and then they were talking about the possibility of being able to 3D print your sculptures from Dreams. So then I looked, that's what it was, and then I looked it up, and then some guy was like, oh, you can, but you can't, you got to circle your thing and videotape this and do this and export to AnyCreate, and he did this whole thing, and it was really fucking cool, man. But he clearly knew what he was doing. Like that was his thing. Like my thing is music, you know what I mean? So, but his thing is this, and it's a possible thing. So it got me kind of excited. And then the artist, Mike Fritz, who did, I'm sure he doesn't mind me dropping his name because he's super talented, and he does contract artwork all the time, but he did the album cover for My Gasoline Heart. He is a phenomenal artist. So I told him I got this Mars Pro 2, and he was like, oh my God, you did it. Like he's writing me back. He goes, I can't fucking wait, man. He goes, if I ever come to town, I got to see how it works. And, there's tons of videos on this thing. But it's interesting because he's got all these miniatures, and he's a fantastic artist. And his stuff looks like it's like, man, people would buy his little miniatures for like $30-$40 a piece, easy. Like he's amazing. But yeah, I was telling him about this photogrammetry or whatever this thing was, and importing things and slicing, my own creations of video game. He's like, dude, he goes, first you just need to learn how to like print the sample thing and make sure like you don't get print failures, and then down the road maybe. He's like, I don't want to discourage you, but you need to take it slow with this shit because it's not as easy as you would think. So I'm excited to dive into it. So that's kind of my new thing, and you know how I get, man. I get super hot on something and then I cool back down and pick something else. But this was something I've been eyeing up for the last like 4 or 5 months, and I've really been curious about. So anyways, yeah. So I don't know, something. We got to think of a way to utilize it though. Something cool, like you could design shit if you knew. Getting a Tinkercad. Tinkercad's a free program online, or you could use Blender. Blender's free, and it's confusing as shit. But I'm not an artist. Like I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at. If I were, I would be making all kinds of cool shit in my spare time. I'd be trying to, at least. I'm not. Stick figures about as good as I can do. But yeah,
there's a guy I work with who does CAD work for us, and that's one of the things he does. And like, we were doing this project where we made this big like mechanical structure and like the size of a car.
Oh my gosh.
And when he was doing like the CAD for it, he was using AutoCAD or Inventor to do it. Yeah. And he took the models from AutoCAD, shrunk them down, and printed it out on his 3D printer. So he has like this little mini version. Hamburger sized version of it on his desk with like a lid that opens and closes.
That's so
and
sick.
Stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah. But he knows how to do 3D modeling and all that kind of stuff as part of, doing 3D CAD work. So it's basically, 3D CAD and like 3D modeling are basically the same thing. It's just, one software is geared towards art and animation, and the other is geared towards like technical specification. So, but they're basically the same thing.
Yeah. It's like Adobe Photoshop versus Adobe InDesign, right? It's like you have this great tool set. One's better at one thing over the other, and they can kind of both overlap a little bit. That's interesting, man. Yeah, so I'm real excited. But of course, when it ships, I'm going to be down in North Carolina, so I'm not going to be able to screw around with this probably for a while. And the safety implications of this, it's a little not unsettling, but it's just, you got to be super safe with this stuff, especially the liquid resin, because it's poisonous. But yeah, you
just don't stick it in your mouth.
Yeah, get a ventilator. One of these. I got one of those masks. I got the special filters on it and stuff. And you don't eat it. They say if it touches your skin, you can develop some crazy reactions to it and stuff. So you got to wear like the nitric gloves or whatever, the non-latex gloves when you handle it and stuff. And resin, it can't be washed down the drain, so you have to like have a container for it when you rinse off your models. And then when you print them, you got to cure them with UV light and stuff. So it's a fucking operation, but it's something I'm really interested in. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. So anyways, man, let's get into some game talk. I beat Kenna. Sorry. One character in the game does call her Kina. I beat Kenna Bridge of Spirits, and for anybody interested, I did put up a takeaway video. It's more of a review. It's about 8 minutes long, up on our YouTube channel, and I'm not going to talk too much about it on the show, so if you want to hear about my opinion of the game, pretty much generally good, you can check that out on a YouTube channel. And I'm still playing Darkest Dungeon, and in one of my recent dungeon crawls, 3 of my 4 best characters were wiped by a boss, and I almost lost them all. My last character had 2 hit points left, and it was just a gamble whether the enemy got to go first or I got to go first, and they gave me the first try, and I was able to put them out. But I got a trophy. It was called like Last One Standing or something, or an achievement or something, because it was on Steam. I have 2 different versions of the game going at once, so I'm really into this game. By the way, if you like Darkest Dungeon, there is a Kickstarter. Mythic Games has a board game they have the license for Darkest Dungeon. It plays a lot like the video game, but the entry fee's $100. But you get 1 million miniatures, and it looks really fucking cool. I almost did it, and I was like, no, I just bought a 3D printer. I don't need to buy another game. I'm not even going to have any friends to play it with. So That's not entirely true, but more so it's an issue of not having time to dive into those things. So I tried to coax my brother into getting it. But if you like Darkest Dungeon, they have a ship date, because the Kickstarter has been going on for a year and a half now, or it's been going on for a long time. The anticipated ship date on the site is November, so they're taking late pledges. So if you want to jump on there, spend $100, get the game. It should ship to you hopefully by the end of the year, and you won't have to have waited a year and a half like a lot of people. So that's cool. They're taking late pledges, and it's never going to go retail. They said it's just this is the only way to get it. So I'm sure it'll be worth something. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I lost all my characters. That game's super intense and frustrating, but I still love it. Jake, have you been playing anything?
Diablo 2.
Yeah, that's right. You pre-ordered it.
Yeah, I beat Psychonauts. I finished that up and basically jumped into Diablo 2. I figured it would be a good kind of gateway game while I wait for Far Cry 6 to come out, which it comes out in a couple days. So that's going to be the next game that I pick up. But yeah, I mean, the more I play Diablo 2, the more I'm into it, just getting back into where I was 20 years ago. But it's good. It's really hard. It's a lot harder than I remember it being, but it's awesome. It's basically one of my biggest disappointments about Diablo 3, other than the fact that they just made it super complicated, and they made it easier, but it's like they added all this like modern multiplayer stuff to it, where there's all this like end game shit that like I don't care about, but they made the art style like super cartoony and kind of derpy looking, and Diablo 2 was like very, very gothic and dark looking.
I remember that, yeah.
And the remake of the graphics is basically like they remade them, but they still did them in that gothic old style, and it just looks so good compared to Diablo 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the graphics in Diablo 3 when you and I were playing it, but
yeah, no, I don't. I mean, the game is really fun. Like, I like playing the game, but yeah, I don't really care that much for the graphics and stuff. So it's cool to get back into Diablo 2 and kind of get back into that world. And that's kind of what they did with that game Path of Exile. Was supposed to be almost like a throwback to Diablo 2 whenever it came out, after Diablo 3 came out, and everyone was like about Diablo 3 and the graphics and the new kind of direction and stuff. So they made Path of Exile, which has got that gothic style and everything. And you know, Path of Exile was good, but like kind of the way that it played and sort of the economy of the game and stuff, I didn't really like all that much. So I'm glad to get back into Diablo 2, and I've been talking with one of my coworkers about it. He's super into it. So there's a lot about the game that like I didn't even know, just because like when I was playing it, I was a lot younger and I didn't dig that deep into it. You know, I just had fun playing it. Like I didn't look up like how to do all the crazy fucking rune words and shit to get all this special gear that like the game doesn't tell you how to do. You just got to figure it out, and like there's a lot more to it than I remember. So but it's also a lot simpler than Diablo 3, so it's kind of nice to just jump in and play. And but yeah, I'm really excited to jump into Far Cry 6. I might wait until after I'm going on a work trip next week. I might wait till after I get back from that, just so I don't like start it and then I'm gone for 4 days and then I come back to it. So I might wait till not this coming weekend, but the following weekend to pick it up. But I don't know. I might not be able to wait. I might pick it up and play it this weekend. I just hate like starting something and then sitting it down for a week and then coming back to it.
Oh yeah, that's
trying to remember where the fuck I was and like all this stuff. And I'm sure like, you know, Far Cry 6 probably isn't going to have like this ultra deep story and like everything. I mean, it'll have a good story, but like it's an open world, like crazy first person shooter romp. So, but I don't know. I'm excited to play it, and I don't know. We'll see. I might I might pre-order it just so I can get that fucking Macarena disc launcher. But I don't know if you saw the preview video for that. No. It's like it's a gun that shoots CDs, and the CDs play like the Macarena and shit when you shoot it. Like it just like plays into the craziness that can happen. And because the Far Cry games are really serious, but just wild shit happens in the world all the time. Like you'll be, fighting an enemy, and then all of a sudden like a tiger will come out of nowhere and start mauling the bad guys just because like they just happen to be walking by. Or like it's kind of like it's almost Grand Theft Auto-ish in that way, but much more serious and much more like
the tone of the game is more serious. I
don't know, and it's not as like off the charts as like a Just Cause or a Grand Theft Auto, but I don't know. I'm really excited for it. But yeah, that's all I've been playing really is Diablo 2. Yeah. I've been playing quite a bit of it. I don't know. I've been capturing some videos, so I might do something for it whenever I'm done with it.
You should. Yeah. Better late than never, I say. The more content on that YouTube channel, the better. Big shout out. We had a listener give us a shout out for Podcast Day, so thank you for doing that. I don't know the Twitter handle. I'm not going to say her name out of respect for you, but we did see it and we appreciate it. So thank you for doing that. And we were in good company, I must say. So that's good that we have some listeners. A lot of people don't write into the show, and I'm always posting on the day that we go to record, Jake, if there's anybody that wants us to talk about anything specific. Now, granted, we don't have a huge Twitter following. I think we only have on Twitter, because we don't usually use it. I think we only have like 100 followers, which is like nothing. But they're honest. There are people who actually followed us, not because we followed somebody else. But no one responded. So it is what it is. So if you guys want to interact with the show, you can. So we appreciate the shout out on Twitter. Thank you very much. It's crazy that we have 192 episodes now. That's exciting. When we get to 200, we should probably try to do something fun. Our 100th episode.
I thought this was 191.
Oh, is it?
That's what it says on the doc.
Yeah, it must be 191. Yeah, it's 191. Damn it, I'm jumping the gun. But I do want to...
Well, in a couple of weeks, or a couple of months, that'll be 200.
Yeah, we should figure something out. Maybe we'll do like a top list, or... I don't sound like I said top list. Maybe we'll do like a top list, or we'll do like... I would love if we had a more... So the fact that our listeners don't write us makes me think that they just agree with everything we have to say. Like they have nothing to input. They just accept the show for what it is, and they're like, yeah, all right, that makes sense. But by all means, write in if you have any ideas for show 200. But yeah, it's interesting. It's so strange. We've been doing this for so long, and we used to get people writing in, but I'm looking at the stats, and we do have people that listen. So we know you're out there. So please write us. We got a big 200 show coming on. We've been doing this for over 10 years now, probably, I think. I don't know. I've been doing this podcast a long time. Granted, it's been intermittent. But where I was going with this, and I think that's all our fault. I mean, had we stuck it out like every week like we planned, it would be probably, because we started at a perfect premium time, and I think we caught a lot of people right from the get-go because we were doing something kind of fresh. But there's a lot of PlayStation podcasts now. But I guess the thing of it is where I was going was I am going on a vacation. So I don't know when episode 192 is going to get recorded. So if you're listening and it doesn't show up, and granted, we're a couple days late. We try to do this every Monday. A couple days late on this one. And I would imagine I'm going to be gone all next week. Not going to be able to record. And we didn't take the time to record an episode in advance to air it for you guys because we don't really care about you. So I guess that's just where it's at. So if you want to stay subscribed, you might see that there's an episode that appears to have not loaded. It's just because I'm on vacation. And when I get back, between recording drums for One Up by Land and getting called back into the office that I work at, being the opening supervisor, I'm gonna have to go in at like 7:15 in the morning, which is early for me, and I'm not stoked on that. We will find a way to record episode 192 and get it to you as soon as we can. So it is on its way, but it will not be timely. So that's your warning. But let's get into the news, Jacob. Welcome to the PS This Is Awesome Patreon page. For those of you that don't know, my name is Fred Oakman.
And I'm Jake Peters.
And we're a PlayStation podcast currently in our 10th year. Our first episode aired in July of 2012, where we discussed and speculated on the arrival of the PS4. Over the years, we've used this podcast to take a break from adulting, share our love of video games, and in particular, PlayStation.
The audio podcast is available on all major streaming services, and we have recently made the leap to uploading video content and video podcasting to our YouTube channel, as well as the very occasional Twitter post or live stream. Over the years, we have covered everything from PS3 to PS Vita through the launches of PS4, PSVR, and now PS5. As our audience has grown over the years, we have decided to start this Patreon with the hopes of creating a medium in which we can give you the opportunity to help support our show.
And as a test bed, we're starting with a single tier. It's called the one and only $1 Club. So with your support at the $1 level, we're going to mail you a premium vinyl cut sticker and give you a shout out on the podcast. But at this time, unfortunately, we can only ship to the US and Canada. But this is subject to change depending on your interest.
So whether you're new to the show or you're a frequent flyer, we are forever thankful for your support and hope you can find it in your little gaming heart to join us in the one and only $1 Club. Until next time, like PlayStation, podcasting, and Patreon.
P.S. This is awesome.
Big news. We finally got the long-awaited confirmation as Sony announced their acquisition of Bluepoint Games. Bluepoint, of course, is the studio behind the amazing remakes, remasters of Demon's Souls, the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, Shadow of the Colossus. Jake, what do you think Bluepoint is working on now? Because the rumors are that they're working on a brand new title, not a remake. But I saw a Twitter post today from one Colin Moriarty, because I follow him, and he said on his Twitter that through the grapevine, essentially, now I'm paraphrasing, that Bluepoint is headed to, and then whatever the hell the name of the place for Bloodborne, I think is. I don't know. I'm trying
From Software?
Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Where did he tweet this? I'm looking right now, and I don't see it. Maybe he got yelled at. He did post something that he had heard that Bluepoint was... Here, I'm hearing through the grapevine, Bluepoint may be on a journey to Yharnam, which I believe Yharnam is...
Oh, you're talking about the destination in the game.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yharnam is the city from Bloodborne.
Yeah, so he tweeted that. Now, we all know these game industry people have connections. I don't know. I mean, that's a bold thing to come out and say when you have as many followers as he does. I mean, I don't want to see a remake of Bloodborne. I want to see something else, man. I want to see fucking Resistance or like a new IP. The rumors were that they were working on a new IP. Could they very well be working on two games? Have they been working on Bloodborne since Demon's Souls? I don't know. What do you think they're doing, man?
Well, two things. They could be working on two games. But first thing is that a remake of Bloodborne will sell way more than a remake of Resistance. So if they're going to do that, I'm not surprised. And
that's not what I want, though.
But it could be that, they're doing both, which would be awesome because, I don't know that Bluepoint has ever really plied their talent in that way before, but typically they do kind of remasters and remakes. That's kind of been their shtick, and I know that they like doing that. And I don't know if they've ever really even expressed interest in doing a unique new IP, but I'd like to see what they can come up with. That said, I want to know personally what took them so fucking long to announce this. I wonder if there was a tough negotiation to get them on board, and because if it was that they were waiting for the right time, this is such a random fucking time to announce that you acquired Bluepoint. I would have thought that would have been a perfect thing for the showcase, because Bluepoint is a big studio for Sony to acquire in terms of some of the more recent successful games that they've had.
Got a lot of clout too.
Yeah, so I don't know why they didn't announce it at the showcase if they weren't unless they weren't ready. And if they weren't ready to announce it, why is that? Is it because of maybe the negotiations were sort of taken longer than Sony expected? But I mean, all in all, it really doesn't matter. I am kind of curious how much it costs Sony, just because, when Insomniac was acquired, it was like $220 some million or something like that. And at the time, everyone was like, "Oh, that's expensive. That's expensive." But since then, everyone's like, "Holy shit, that's a fucking steal!"
Look at how much money
compared to basically levied against what they've made since then. And then also, if you compare that to like Microsoft's acquisitions with like Bethesda and stuff, how much they paid for that, it looks like, pennies on the dollar. So I'm curious how much they paid for Bluepoint, and if they paid around the same amount or more for Bluepoint than they did for Insomniac, because the value of studios is so much higher now than it was a few years ago because of COVID. More people are playing games, like all this stuff is going on, new console generations, everybody's valuation is up right now. So I'm curious what it ended up being, just from a curiosity perspective. I think no matter what, it's a good thing for Sony, even if they spent, $300 million on them or something. But like, it'll be interesting. I would love to see, it would be cool to see them bang out something like a Resistance, or like trying to think of what else they could do, like a Jack and Daxter. I know people want that. I don't know if I really care that much about it, but like, they could do a number of things. I don't know if they've ever done a first person shooter. That might be interesting for them. But I think that Bloodborne is like the no brainer that it's really not going to be a shock whenever they announce that one.
What studio was doing Knights of the Old Republic? What studio was that? They announced
that is what are they called?
Not Purple Lab. What?
They did another remaster Star Wars port recently.
God, I can't remember what studio that was. But I'm trying to think.
KOTOR Remake Studio, Aspire.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what Bluepoint is doing. I think that's it's big news. It's good news, but it's not surprising news.
No, it's not surprising, but it's big. Yeah, I mean, it's now. It was all but confirmed, and now it's confirmed. Yeah, it happened. So yeah, you make a good point. I would like to know what they paid. Do I care? Really? No, I'm just curious like you. I guess I didn't even think about that till you brought it up. Yeah, I wonder what that cost. I don't know if it was much of a negotiation issue as maybe, when you're PR and when you're doing stuff for a company and you're in marketing, right? Mainly marketing. You have a timeline here to here, and you probably have markers. Like, we got to do something between here and here. We got to announce something here and here. We got to do something here and here. We got to do something here and here. We got to make sure that we are showing that there's momentum with our company, right? So it could have been a sealed deal, and it could very well just be that they just wanted to wait until they didn't have anything to say so that they could say this. It's curious. It is a weird thing. They even had like a little video. Herman Holst, I think, said some stuff. It was interesting. But anyways, let's move on to the next news point, shall we? First screen capture from The Last of Us HBO series was shown. It's literally the backs of Joel, Pedro Pascal, and the girls playing Ellie. I believe she was the girl from Game of Thrones. And it's just their backs. And it looked fine. I mean, it looked like it could have been a shot from the video game. Now, we did hear recently that Neil Druckmann is going to be directing this. You heard that, right, Jake?
I don't know if I heard. I knew he was writing it, but I didn't know he was actually directing it.
Let me double check. Let me fact check myself.
I haven't really been following it all that much, so that doesn't mean it's not true.
I'm checking right now. But what did you look at the photo? What did you think of the photo?
I think that everything in the foreground looks good. I'm worried about how much CG they're going to shove into this, though, with that like plane on the fucking hill. It like, kind of looks a little CG. Like, obviously that's not real. They put that in there. So, I mean, I'm sure it'll look fine, but like, I hope they don't rely a lot on CG to bring The Last of Us game world to life. Like, I don't want to see any CG bloaters and shit like that, or like, like when you see like under budget sci-fi movies and like everything in the background is CG. Like, I hate that shit. Like, I don't mind it if it's like a movie from 20 years ago, or if it's like a B movie or like a lower budget thing. But this is like an HBO like multi-million-dollar. Like, didn't they say it was going to cost like $10 million an episode or something for this?
I don't know. I can't confirm. I don't know.
Which is like absolutely asinine. If it's going to cost that much money, like, I hope that they do a good job with it. Or if they do CG, like, I want it to be the best fucking CG on the planet. Like, because if the video game looks better than the fucking TV show, I'm going to be pissed.
It won't. I saw a tweet. I don't know who tweeted it, but it was a couple cars. Like when you're playing The Last of Us, how the cars are all rusted and gross looking, windshields broken and stuff. It was like this really wide shot. And the tweet was something, I don't know if this is even true. It could have been a joke, but it was like, I didn't realize they were shooting some of The Last of Us in Edmonton. And it was actual cars on like the city streets, but they just look like shit. And they look like there's a camera crew and stuff. So I think a lot of this stuff is going to be on set. A lot of the effects are going to be real effects. But so I'm looking on comic,
like practical,
comic book.
I mean, I think, but other than that, like I said, I think the screenshot, like the look of Joel and Ellie from the back and everything looks good. I don't know, what they're going to look like, from the front. Obviously, you see their faces.
That's why they didn't show us, because they didn't want the backlash.
You have to. I mean, what the characters look like. They can only do so much makeup on them.
Jesus.
Or the actors, right?
Yeah. When they released the first photos of Henry Cavill as Geralt from The Witcher, his hair was so fucking bad. They're like, the whole community was like, no, you cannot have his hair like that. It looks like shit. And they were like, oh yeah, like after the fact, like they talking to some of the set designers and the director and stuff, they thought they kind of had nailed it, right? And then they were like, oh, then, after we got the criticism, we realized that, no, we can do better. So the person who made, like, Geralt's wig then comes on the documentary or whatever, and she's like, I painstakingly put every little piece of hair on this thing to make it, and it shows. It looks good. His wig looks good now. Anyway, so I'm on Google.com. The Last of Us creator, Neil Druckmann, not Google.com, comicbook.com, sorry. Neil Druckmann will serve as director on HBO TV series. So they only pulled this because apparently there is a listing, and it says, let me see here. This is from comicbook.com directly. Mentioned in a new document from DGC, Directors Guild of Canada, which would make sense if they're filming in Edmonton. Druckmann was mentioned as a director for The Last of Us. While specifics regarding how many episodes he might direct weren't given, his name was mentioned alongside Craig Mazin, Peter Hoare, Kentamir Balagov, and someone else that I can't pronounce, as some of the other directors that will be rotating in throughout the course of the series. So, if you know anything, we know the Walking Dead video game series had multiple directors per each video game episode. They do this with series shows. Game of Thrones had different directors. I think The Witcher had one main director, but I think The Mandalorian had different directors for each episode. So it's kind of interesting. Maybe he's just going to come in for a one-off just to put his little stamp on it. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't be surprised if they let him do like the pilot or something like that, just to kind of launch the show or whatever, or maybe like the season finale or something. But yeah, it's incredibly common for a TV show to have like every single episode have a different director.
Right.
And, or, you know, like maybe one director will stay for a couple episodes if there's like a story arc that like stretches through a couple episodes or something. But like, yeah, it's not uncommon for them to do that. And I would be shocked if Neil Druckmann did every single episode, but I think it would be cool to let him do like, you know, one or two just to see what he does on that stage.
Yeah, that's cool to think that, you know, because obviously, you know, the stuff with video games is so very calculated, and you can literally bend the actors and stuff and the actresses and the animations to exactly what you want. So it'd be interesting to see how he works with, you know, granted they have, you know, obviously they have mocap and stuff, video games, but it's probably similar because it gives them a lot of directions. But I think when they go down and they start doing the game stuff, if they don't like where Troy Baker put his fucking elbow, can they just move it? Like, they can probably just grab it and move. Like, I'm sure. I don't like where his elbow's at. Let's just tweak this perfectly so it's, you know what I mean? So, not being able to have that much control, I wonder how he handles it. Hopefully he does well. It's obviously something he's got a talent for, so directing. Moving forward, Alan Wake Remaster. It's coming out. Comes out tomorrow. Well, it comes out today if you're listening to this on Wednesday. We're recording this on Tuesday. It comes out 10/5/21. Apparently, there is some game capture floating around right now in 4K, and it looks really nice. I believe Push Square already has a review up that indicate that the story is really great, but the combat is mind-numbing. Like, it just didn't age well, the combat. But they said it looks good and the story is good, so that's interesting. Interesting review. I've never played it, so I don't even know.
I think it's a great game, but it's been a long time since I've played it. Like, it has this really cool mechanic where there are these like shadow guys. Mm-hmm. They're like, it's like you're in this fucking nightmare. It's the story is awesome.
Yeah.
But like when they're like dark, like they're like covered in shadows, they're like really hard to kill. So the easiest way to kill them is you have a flashlight that you can shine on them, and you can actually like kind of blow the shadows away by shining a flashlight on them, and it makes them more invincible, and you can use your guns to kill them easier. Yeah. Like it's an interesting mechanic. That's cool. Before that you didn't really see, you know, it was kind of unique for the time, and I'd be curious to try and play it again. I don't know when I would get to it. It might be kind of a fun like Halloween game, but like yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, move forward. Video game publisher. I believe it's Bandai. It might be Bandai, but it's Bandai Namco. In a strange maneuver, has decided to do some rebranding. So their former logo is no longer going to be used. Instead, the company's decided to move forward with a logo that looks like a speech bubble. I personally couldn't care less. But I agree with the internet. It looks like shit, and I like the old logo better. They went on to just explain that Bandai and Namco were two separate companies, so the former logo was the melding of the two companies together. It's supposed to represent that, and now if it's in one speech bubble, it means that they're now together, they're now one, you know, and moving forward or something. I don't know. This is a publisher that has a very, very long, I don't know, lineage of video games with this logo. And again, like, it's essentially unimportant. But why companies decide to rebrand when they've got something already that's recognizable is weird. I guess they just decide that they want to do it because they feel like it's a fresh start. I don't know. I don't like the new logo. Did you see it?
It looks like shit.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. It looks bad.
Why is it a speech bubble? Like, what the fuck? Like, are they like? Because it's not like, as far as I know, like, they're not big in like the chat space.
Yeah, they're not a phone company.
It looks like now they're like, you know, they're gonna be doing stuff in like the
iMessage,
you know, like or like Discord or something like that. Like, I don't understand. Like, you can rebrand and use like the same, like an homage to the old logo, but make it modern. Like companies do that all the time. We did that
with our logo. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't understand. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets reversed at some point. Just because, like, it looks stupid. I mean, it doesn't.
The colors aren't good either, though. It's like the speech bubble is like white, and there's some pink in there, white and pink, like black. It says Bandai Namco, I think, is in black. I can't remember exactly, but
it's just so generic looking. Like, don't get me wrong.
It doesn't even look clean.
It doesn't look. Let me say this: the logo doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look like it belongs with the company and what they do. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand, like maybe if instead of being a speech bubble, because it's got like this weird sharp edge that makes it look like the point of a speech bubble. Yeah. Like if they did like that logo, but maybe they made it symmetrical so it almost kind of looked like a controller or something, like that would be like a little bit more sort of on brand. But like... Dude, I don't know what the fuck's going on with this logo.
Well, honestly, it doesn't even look like a logo. It just looks like a speech bubble and someone wrote Bandai Namco in it. It's not even a fucking logo, really. It's just a speech bubble with their name in it. It's not a fucking logo.
Yeah, they would have been better off just making it a pink rectangle as opposed to having that little speech bubble.
The colors don't really bother me, really, but I mean, it just doesn't, it's not fitting. Like they had this real deep orange and like really calming yellow logo before, and it was really neat looking. Like it was obtuse. It was unclear what it was trying to be, but it was artistic, and it was like, okay, that's their logo. You know what I mean? There's one person out there with a Bandai Namco logo tattooed on them somewhere, and they're like, fuck. It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know. But hey, moving forward again, the Game Awards, Jake, is showcasing December 9th, and it will have an audience present this time around. It'll be a big change from last year. In which nobody was present, but Jeff Keighley and perhaps a couple guests. So they're moving back to having a live audience, which is kind of interesting. I'm fine with the Game Awards. We talk about it. We always have an episode where we talk about some of the Game Awards stuff, make some predictions and stuff every show, every year. But I guess it's news, but it's not news. Nice to see that they're able to kind of resume, but I still don't think we're through this pandemic by any stretch right now. But maybe by December 9th we will be. So it is what it is.
It's never ending.
Yeah, I think
it's just event. I at this point I'm of a mind that like it's never gonna be over. It's just that it's going to become a way of life.
Yeah, you might be on
like
something.
things will ease up and stuff, but like it's just like the whole sort of insular, like protective kind of jacket that everyone's wearing now, metaphorically, obviously, like everyone's like staying away from each other and wearing masks, and like people are being divisive too. Like it's just going to become a way of life. I think.
Yeah. I
have a hard time believing that it's going to go back to the way it was. So, at this point, it's like when people say things like, when the pandemic is over, I'm like, okay, whatever, because by the time like it's quote unquote over, there'll be something else. So
there'll be a new thing to be fearful of, apparently. Yeah, so good for the Game Awards. We received some news, Jake, that God of War Ragnarok, the delay that happened, was due to the voice actor. So the voice actor announced on Twitter with no prompting from the company that he underwent some super serious surgeries involving hips needing replaced, knee surgery, back surgery. We wish him well, and the team at Sony Santa Monica. But this is why the gaming community shouldn't give studios shit for pushing back games, because you don't know the whole fucking story all the time. So I hope any outspoken critics of the pushback feel like a big turd now, and they learned a lesson. So, it's,
dude, that guy is awesome.
Yeah,
Christopher Judge.
Yeah.
He's got such a dope voice.
He's got a great voice, and it's just like one of those things, because I'm sure there were some like God of War fans that were just like, fuck Sony Santa Monica, they told us this game was coming out of the game, this and that, and I'm sure there was some bad, because that's just the nature of the internet these days. But I hope that those people learned a little bit of a lesson of humility and embarrassment and felt ashamed for talking shit, because you don't have the whole story. You know, you don't know.
Well, people just need to chill the fuck out. There's tons of games to play. Just wait until it's done. It'll be better.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why everyone gets so upset.
I love it when people learn lessons the hard way like that, though. You know, and they say some dumb shit, and, you know, it turns out, you know, they were so sure of themselves, and then, you know, it turns out that there's something really grave, unknowing to their whatever, their purview. That wasn't even in their sights. This crazy thing that if you're a human, you should be sympathetic towards, and it puts their foot in their mouth so fucking fast. And I love that he tweeted this because it's awesome. So again, hope he's doing well, and hope Sony Santa Monica is gonna have a good release with God of War Ragnarok. I'm sure they will. But that was. Did you ever
see like the video of him doing mocap with the boy that plays Atreus?
I think I have. Yeah.
It's like the scene like where they're talking when they're in the boat and stuff like that. It's like, even like them sitting there in the fucking stupid mocap suits and stuff, like just the way that he presents and acts is just so powerful. And it's so cool to see. Like, I'm excited for Ragnarok. Like, I've never said this about a God of War game ever in my life until God of War 2018 or whenever that game came out. I'm excited to see what happens with the story, like what happens with him and his kid and like all that stuff, and just seeing like how that character evolves. And a lot of it is just his presence, you know, the way that he presents that character,
his delivery, his presence. Yeah. Just he's very commanding. Yeah. So yeah, awesome. And we were just talking about this last episode. We were talking about Ride 4 on the PS5. We had mentioned how it'd be really awesome if they could bring back demos and let us try this shit. So Sony has introduced what they are calling game trials, but only on first-party games at the moment and only on PS5. So in order to try this out, you have to go to the PSN and click the free trial option. The clock will start as soon as you start downloading the game. The two games that you can try a free trial on right now that you can sample until October 28th are Death Stranding's Director's Cut and Sackboy: A Big Adventure, both games of which you've tried, Jake. I haven't tried either. But the trial seems to vary depending on the game, but you'll get 6 hours with Death Stranding and 5 hours with Sackboy, and any progress and trophies that you earn and you will retain should you decide to purchase the game later.
The timer has to start when you start the game the first time. It can't start when you start downloading it, because
when you click on trial, boom, that starts the timer.
That doesn't make any sense, because it'll take you 6 hours to fucking download
That's what the article fucking said. So don't be
I believe
shitty.
you that that's what it says, but I can't believe that that's true.
I don't believe it either, but that's what it said, so that's what I reported. And I got that from Push Square. Not the whole write-up, but the information. And
dude, speaking of, I started I just for fun, when I finished Psychonauts, I downloaded MotoGP again because you were talking about Ride.
Yeah.
And man, those games are so fucking hard, those sim racer games. Like, I can barely even stay on the track. It took me a long time just to get good enough to be able to complete a race on the easiest difficulty. And I would love to be able to play a trial, because there's like another motorcycle racing game that came out recently called Rims that looks really cool too. But I just, I can't bite the bullet on the money until I know I'm gonna enjoy playing it.
Just buy a 3D printer
and just print the disc.
Yeah, just print the disc, print the game system. It's easy.
All right.
No, but what's interesting, Digital Foundry, another YouTube channel that does really, really awesome technical data on games, and you know they're counting frames and they're counting drops and stuff. They actually just posted a little video on that Ride 4 video that had been circulating and what they found, and it was an interesting watch. So if you want to check that out, you can go over there and check it out. But last but not least, of course, for the podcast, for today, there's a new teaser / prototype gameplay trailer for a game being developed by, I can't pronounce it. It's a Tokyo studio, Soliel. No idea how to fucking, I'm the worst at this shit. Soliel, maybe? Soliel?
It's probably either like Soliel or Soliel, or it might even Soliel. Be like Soleil.
Could be Soleil, could be Soliel, whatever the hell it is. But it's being directed by the director of Ninja Gaiden, and it's called Wanted Dead. And I gotta say, from what I've seen, it looks like there is potential here. It's a third-person game. It looks cool as shit, and the trailer indicates a release window of 2022 for the PS5. So I know you probably haven't watched this trailer, but it actually looks pretty cool. And I just saw it today, which is why I'm thinking maybe you haven't seen it yet. But it looks pretty cool. So it's called Wanted Dead. I think we can use a game like this. It looks pretty visceral, like bloody, violent, graphic, pretty in your face. The combat in the game. But it looks cool. And I think that if this is prototype gameplay, if it's early gameplay, and they're not releasing it until 2022, which clearly is within, 13 months. 2022 will be over, 14 months, whatever. But 15 months, whatever. My math is so good. As you know very well, Jake, my math is awesome. When I'm trying to divvy out the money from our gigs, I'm always like, what's this divided by that? And I'm always wrong. You guys are going to think I'm trying to cheat you. But anyways, that's all I had for the news. Are you watching that trailer?
I was just pulling it up to see because I haven't
Well, why don't you watch
before.
it? Let me go through the new games, and then you watch that trailer while I go through the new games coming out this week.
Sure.
So October 4th, Hampuz on the PS4, Probe, a game developer experience, a game dev experience, PSVR. October 5th, Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, The First Cases. Don't know what that means. PS4. Must be a murder mystery or something. Alan Wake Remaster, PS5, PS4. Hell Let Loose on the PS5. Jet the Far Shore comes out on Wednesday, the 5th, which is tomorrow. I think, right? 5th's tomorrow. Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, PS5, PS4. Puzzle Bobble 3D, Vacation Odyssey, PS5, PS4. Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan, PS4. Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania, PS5, PS4, October 6th, Art of Rally, PS5, PS4, and October 7th, Far Cry 6 for the PS5 and PS4. What do you think of that trailer, Jake? No, he's still watching it. So, I guess what I'll talk about is I did download Hell Let Loose, not Get Loose. I keep saying Get Loose, and the PGA game. That were the free plus games, and Hell Let Loose seems like it could be awesome, but it also seems like it's going to suck all at the same time.
So Hell Let Loose, yeah, it could be cool. I'd be curious to see if you played. What do you think about it?
I did. I spent let me just, and then we can talk about that trailer. But what I did is I spent a lot of time in Hell Let Loose. 15 minutes before band practice today is all the time I spent with it. Looking at the map, trying to figure out where the fuck I was on the map. And then I hit a button. It was like, change the radio station. I'm guessing the frequency of something. I don't know what the fuck that was. And then it wasn't really clear where I was on the map. But there were all these little dots. Not a lot of dots. And then I had a squad, but I couldn't figure out how to deploy onto my squad. So I deployed at the beginning at the HQ. And I walked for about 12 minutes through fields, through trenches, all by myself, and I could hear gunfire in the distance, and I just fucking kept walking, and then I died. And it took me probably 12 minutes to get to walking straight to get to the firefight. And I didn't know when I had gotten there, and I died. And I was like, well, I guess it's time for, it was like one shot, and I died too. It wasn't like I just like, it was not like Call of Duty where like, and you're turning a little red, and you're like, oh, I gotta fucking run. It was like, boom, dead. And it was like, you were killed. And I was like, fuck, like I don't even know what happened. The graphics were good, and what I do like so far about it, 15 minutes in, is that there's no obvious HUD, so it looks pretty realistic. You're using the iron sights. You have very limited shit. If you want to pull up a map, you're looking at a map, and you're just fucking in the middle of shit. So it's pretty simulation like. It's weird. It's very weird.
So almost like a Ghost Recon type game.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean it's
not like a Wildlands. I mean like OG Ghost Recon.
Yeah, not even close to Wildlands. It's first person, but the thing that drove me crazy is I'm just thinking like it feels like a game that was made for a computer that would work really well with mouse clicks. That doesn't quite translate to a controller right now. And it just came out. So
it sounds probably exactly what it is.
Yeah, I think so. That's what it felt like. And I'm like, this game has potential, I guess, if you learn how to do it all. It seems like it's a time commitment. But I might try it again later tonight. We'll see. I'm sweaty from practice, so after this podcast and I get all the shit uploaded, I'm going to go grab a shower, and I'm going to sit down on the couch for the first time today. And I may or may not power it up. I might just power up Darkest Dungeon, dude. What do you think of that trailer for Wanted Dead?
It looks cool. It's hard to tell. Like, I know that it says it's early alpha footage or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games where, like,
it could go either way.
Feel is going to be everything. Like, it looks cool, but if it doesn't feel satisfying to do, like, all the shit that she's doing, like lopping off limbs and all that crap.
Yeah.
Like if they can make it feel very visceral, almost like like a faster version. Like, you remember how speaking of God of War, remember how the God of War combat felt like really
so
like visceral, like
so dialed in.
Like even like the first like The Last of Us, when you would hit somebody, you would like fucking feel it. Yeah. Like I want to have something like that, and not like the typical
it's filled light.
But what I have a feeling like what it's going to end up being is like the typical Japanese third-person action game where like everything is very like. Well, it's button mashing. Like I'm not necessarily commenting on the input so much as like the combat, like the feel of it is very like very. I don't want the floaty is not the right word, but like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of impact going on. Like there's a lot of like movement and slashing and all this kind of shit.
It's not very fluid.
There's not a lot of. It's not even so much fluidity. I don't know if it's just they don't translate all the impacts very well through the vibration in the controller or something, or like the sounds. Like it doesn't feel very like weighty. Like it's not as satisfying as I want it to be.
You want girth.
Yeah, I want my girthy combat.
He wants a girth combat.
So we'll see. It looks cool. Like visually, it looks really cool. And it looks very like gory, which cool, is kind of neat. But and it like I didn't really listen to the trailer all that much in terms of the audio, so I don't know kind of what the gist is. Like maybe you're some kind of contract killer or something, but like or like a cop. I can't really fucking tell. But like I love that they had like some kind of I did hear there was like some kind of like Rob Zombie song in the background or some shit, which like is awesome. Like I hope that's what it is. Like I want that to be like the aesthetic of the game.
Yeah,
because that would be awesome.
Ass, like It almost reminds me of what, like if you replaced her character with John Wick, it would make a lot of sense. Like if you're having trouble figuring out what this looks like, it's just like she's a badass. She's very good with guns. She's also clearly capable in hand-to-hand combat, and there's a lot of blood and violence, and she's just going through people. And like
it almost looks like a Tarantino, like Kill Bill kind of thing, but like with guns and shit too, where she can like actually do third person shooting and stuff. I am interested for sure.
Yeah. So hopefully it delivers. So that's all I have for the show, Jake. Is there anything that you want to chime in about?
The life of so I'm just gonna read this for you.
Yeah.
The game will draw you into the life of Lieutenant Hannah Stone, the leader of a special task force who operates outside normal police boundaries and rules called the Zombie Squad.
The Zombie Squad.
Blah 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 blah. Sci-fi, fucking futuristic Hong Kong, yada yada yada. This is from hypebeast.com. So,
but there were no zombies in the trailer, so that just must mean that they're badasses, right?
It could just be that like that's just kind of like the flashy name,
like the
for
Grim
the special squad
Reapers
that she's in.
Yeah.
But it does say that it's a sci-fi yet low-tech Hong Kong, so I don't know what the sci-fi part of it is. Maybe there is some kind of a supernatural component to it. I don't know, but we'll have to see. It looks cool. Like I'm excited to see more. We'll say that.
Yeah. Wanted Dead. All right.
I wonder if it's related to the movie Wanted, which was pretty bad.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it. That Angelina Jolie was in that?
Yeah. And what's
Brad
his
Pitt?
name? Played Professor X as a young Professor X.
I don't remember his name.
James McAvoy? Is that his name?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. We're getting off track, but why don't you look it up real quick so we can close the podcast down? Because now the listeners want to know.
James McAvoy. Yep.
All right. Fair enough.
Continue.
No, we're good. I think we're good, man. I got to get all this stuff converted, uploaded. So what I've been doing, I used to set the podcast, honestly, to just air on certain dates and stuff. As soon as we record it, I put it up. So if you want to head over to our YouTube channel every once in a while, you can find it, maybe prematurely. And I was tempting fate maybe a little bit, and thinking that like maybe when we hit 200, maybe migrating the podcast over to I think it's Acast, and I'm just not sure how to do it. So I'd like to do something, and it might mess up with people's feeds. I don't know, but I think when you migrate stuff, it's supposed to work pretty easily. But because we're pushing the Patreon, I'd like to have an interface with our podcast distributor, because we don't really technically have one. We have a real backdoor way of getting our podcast out to everybody that I won't really go into detail about, but I feel like we're not doing it proper. And I feel like if we go through Acast, that we'll get a better idea of the actual listeners of the podcast and be able to integrate and have more community-based stuff through Patreon and Acast. So I thought about maybe for 200 we would try something, but I'm really nervous that it's not going to work and we're going to lose any progress we've made with doing the show. But I don't know. We might lose subscribers, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. It's something I've tempted to think about. So listeners, be on the lookout. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but if we disappear around episode 200, go searching for us, because we didn't quit. All right. So unfortunately, there's no music closing track for the show, and we haven't had music closing track in a long, long time, but I've got 2 records coming out. Jake, you're going to be on one, The Flood, and I got a One Up on Land record coming out soon. Well, not soon. We're starting the recording process. So maybe we'll have to start showcasing some of that stuff. Nobody's sending us music, and I wish they would. I have a lot of friends that play music, and a lot of people know I do the podcast. No one sends me music to put on the show, which is just ridiculous. It's free advertising. I want to help my friends out, but because my friends don't want to give me music or they're too lazy, if you're in a band or your friends are in a band and you want to put their songs on a podcast that arguably has at least some listeners, you should send it to us. psthisisawesome@gmail.com, and we will put it on the show. So that's all I got. Jake, are you good?
I'm good.
All right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in again to PS This Is Awesome, episode 191. We appreciate you. I'm going to go on vacation, and we'll be back when we get back. So like Banner Saga, Bubble Bobble, and Bastion, PS, this is awesome.
Awesome.